Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to the FIDE Grand Swiss tournament in 2019 in the Isle of Man. So we have a new world record. Magnus Carlsen is unbeaten now for 101 games. He broke the record of Ng3 Re5, who was undefeated for 100 games. So now Magnus Carlsen is really the undisputed king, and among many of his records he includes now this one. And I want to congratulate him because he deserves really all of our respect. He plays really great chess these days, and of course deserves to be on this list as the best player who hasn't been defeated now for more than a year, because his last loss was against Jozarov in 2018 in the Biel tournament. So from that point on he hasn't lost a game at all. So there is this fact that Bogdan Lalic and Sergei Tivyakov, both of these players were undefeated for 110 games. But I think this record should be only considered when it comes to Magnus Carlsen, because Magnus Carlsen has played all of these games against these top grandmasters like Fabiano Caruana, Levon Aronian, Nakamura, I don't know, Vishian and Ng3 Re5 and many more. So by the games of Bogdan Lalic and Tivyakov were in not such an elite level, I think, and that's why Magnus Carlsen is really this undisputed king, and he's the player with this longest streak when it comes to undefeated games. So what happened in the tournament? We had a really great surprise. I think the winner of the tournament was Wang Hao. It comes with a little bit surprise because I haven't expected this, but I like it because we need new players, we need new challengers, newcomers, because then the tournaments that are played are getting more and more dynamic. And you see Fabiano Caruana has played also a very nice tournament. He hasn't lost a game. Wang Hao, on the other hand, he lost a game, but he had the most wins in the tournament, and I think he deserved to be on the first place. And of course I wanted to congratulate him also through this video. Very important thing for him, I think, in this career, because as I said, 154 players played in this very nice tournament, and Wang Hao was on the first place and has now his place in the candidates tournament, which is, I think, a very important thing to get his card, his ticket to this candidates tournament. Then in the future he can maybe also challenge Magnus Carlsen in the next world championship match. So let's see now this other standings. Kirill Alexeyenko also very good. Here you see he's only 2674 rated, so he's not even in this 2700 club. But of course he played very good chess and deserves also to be on the third place. My favorite player, Levon Aronian, is on the fourth place. I think it's a good result because Levon Aronian is getting back. He's playing now very nice tournaments in the last months. And here we have Anton Guaro David on the fifth place, Magnus Carlsen on the sixth place. Magnus hasn't lost a game, as I mentioned. He has now this record. Hikaru also very good with 7.5 points. Nikita Vityugov, Alexander Grishchuk and David Paravian. So congratulations to all of these players. They played really great chess. We had really great chess in this tournament, and I basically didn't know which game to publish. And I had also my regular work. I couldn't follow all of these games. There were simply too many games, and that's why here I wanted to show you this game, because the world record is a new record now by Magnus Carlsen. And let's see now the game. So as said, white pieces here, Levon Aronian played here the move d4, and here Carlsen played knight on f6. We have c4 by Aronian and e6 by Carlsen, the Nimzo Indian. And the most of the times these top grandmasters are playing now this move knight on f3, the counter Nimzo Indian, preventing this bishop on b4 idea to prevent white from pinning you. And here Aronian really played the most aggressive line with the move knight on c3, because before the game Levon Aronian also needed a win in order to win this tournament. So even if he would have finished on the second place, he would be in the candidates tournament, because Fabiano Caruana has accomplished that through another way. Here with the knight on c3, basically he invited now Magnus Carlsen to go into the most aggressive line with bishop on b4. So we have now the pinning idea, and here Aronian plays also very interesting idea, the f3 move. It's the so-called Kmoch variation, of course, with the idea to push the pawn here on e4. Carlsen played c5, challenging immediately white's dominant center here, and here d5 played by Aronian. If you take d takes c5, that's just dubious. It doesn't make any sense, because here after knight on c6, e4, and here bishop on c5, of course it's not good. You have dark square problems here. The bishop is really aiming on this diagonal. We could try something like a6 and really hide with our bishop on a7 and not prevent white from castling here. So in the game, as said, d5 was played by Aronian, and now b5. Here we have now several choices. If you take c takes b5, then you see e takes d5 is very dangerous. If you try a3, then bishop takes on c3 is a very good move. After b takes on c3, you see we have now 3 pawns in the center, but even a better way is to take here with the knight, and if bishop on d2, then knight on b6. Here after a3, bishop takes on c3, bishop takes on c3, but now d5. This is now this pawn central control. You see these 2 pawns in the center are restricting these 4 very important squares in the center, and it's hard here for white to push the pawn on e4, because then you risk black can always pass through with this pawn and play the move d4 and really block out your dark square bishop. So these 2 pawns in the center would really restrict your ability to play here. So that's why you see taking the pawn on b5 is not good, because the central pawn is basically much better evaluated than the pawn on the side of the board. So that's why here, if you allow your opponent to have such a good pawn central control, it's of course not good here from white's perspective. So that's why e4 was played by Aronian, not reacting. If you try something from Magnus' perspective, if you try something like b takes c4, it seems like a good move. It releases some pressure, but here after bishop on c4, black can always also try here maybe something like knight on d5. If we take bishop takes on d5, of course e takes d5 is not good, because always of this idea to play queen on h4, you have to play g3, and now queen takes on c4 is very dangerous. So you would be forced to play here something like bishop on d5, after e takes d5, then queen on d5, and knight on c6 would be then a forced line for black, and now knight from g2 e2. This is now an equalized position. White doesn't have any more the bishop here, but has a good central control, has a good queen, a very well placed centralized queen, the possibility to create very nice attacking ideas with this knight on f4, knight on h5, and similar ideas. So it will be really an equal game. On the other hand, black can always get use of this very powerful bishop pair in an open position. So again, as I said, this will be really also a dynamic continuation. So in the game, Carlsen played, instead of that, he played the move d6. He didn't want to play this b takes c4 idea, and now Aronian played the move bishop on d2, and of course he is now challenging finally black to release the pressure in the center. You can do that by playing the move a6, but here Magnus finds a very interesting idea. But when we think about it better, when we think more about it, it's really a natural way. Bishop takes on c3, very nice, and now bishop takes on c3, and now b4. You see, Magnus Carlsen played on a very nice positional trades of pieces, because here the bishop has to react again, and after bishop on d2, you have at least secured a closed position on the queen side. So when you give up maybe your bishop for a knight, at least you have to consider to somehow block the position. At least the position cannot get dynamic. At least you have to create dynamics where you want to. Here on the queen side, of course, we are not allowing the bishop to come on c3. On the square c3, the bishop would have then a very nice diagonal. So here castling played by Carlsen, and now bishop on e3. This bishop on e3 is a very important move. So it's unbelievable what happens if you don't do that. If you play something passive like a3 in order to challenge here this b4 move, because black has here an advanced pawn, and of course you want to crack the position. This game is really dangerous for white, because we have here e takes d5, and after e takes d5, you see rook on e8. It's very dangerous. You have to play king on f2, and this king is really endangered on this square. So if you take here with the c pawn, it's even worse, because here knight takes on e4, we have a very nice tactical shot. After f takes e4, queen on h4, creating a check. And if you try something like g3 here, of course you lose the rook. Queen takes on e4 and you lose the rook on h1. So that's why you would be forced to go with the king on a very unnatural square on e2, and now rook on e8 is very powerful. Or even a better idea is to play bishop on a6, creating a check. After king on e3, now f5, simply open the position, the rook, the queen, and maybe if you could just somehow maybe even to bring the knight into the game, this game I think would be really lost for white. Although with the piece up, this king in the center is too much to handle here, and I think white would simply lose the position here. So that's why bishop on e3 very important, because now this knight on e4 tactical idea doesn't work, because we can always cover with the bishop here on f2. So that's why bishop on e3, very nice move by Levon Aronian. He realized these tactical possibilities and continued the game with the bishop here. So here e takes d5 was played, c takes d5, and now knight on d7 played by Carlsen. This is a very interesting idea. I've played against many of the setups. It's similar to the same-ish attack when I play as white. I played many times the same-ish attack against the King's Indian, and most of the times my opponent, when I played this opening, tried some knight on e8 or knight on d7 ideas with the preparation to push the pawn on f5. It's really also a natural way to play against this pawn chain that white has built here, because if you realize always the pawn chains that your opponent has built, these pawn chains always have to be broken in the center of the pawn chain. So it means you should crack the position here with the potential f5 move, or if the position allows it, here with the move g4. So of course Magnus Carlsen is preparing now to break the pawn chain, because this is something that you have to break in order to make some kind of attack working, because you don't have anymore the bishop here. This is very important to say. If the position allows it in a better way for white, if the position gets open for the bishops, then of course white has a better position. But here with this f5 move, it's really a better way for black, because we are cracking the position where we want it. Here on the queen side, as I said, we have solved the problems, because we have here now also a pawn chain. But you see, white's problem is that white can't crack the pawn chain, but white doesn't have anymore the d pawn. If you could just imagine the position here with the d pawn, then of course we would crack the position with the move d4. So we would try then really to crack this pawn chain here of the pawns on b4, c5 and d6. So that's why this knight on d7, it seems like a strange idea, because you have blocked out your knight, you have blocked out your bishop, but also white has an endangered king. White hasn't participated with these minor pieces so far. White needs to castle, or at least secure the king here on the square f2. So knight on e2 played by Aronian, here f5, and you would love to play something like knight on g3. Of course you would love to recapture here with the knight, but that's not possible because of this move f4. So that's why here after f5 Aronian played e takes f5, and now rook takes on f5. Knight on g3, rook on e5, of course, creating a very dangerous attack. So that's why Aronian played king on f2 and secured his king. He has now two minor pieces around the king. He has also the rook and also the bishop here. So although it's not the best way to castle sort of, but you have many minor pieces around around your king, so this should be a secured position. So queen on h4 played by Carlsen. Also very important move, because it comes also with the idea to push the pawn here on c4. We want to get use of this 3-on-2 situation on the pawn majority that we have on the queen side, because we have an advanced pawn on b4. So of course it has to be prepared much more, but from a strategical point of view, this c4 is dangerous for white if white allows such a position. So that's why queen on d2 first played by Aronian, simply trying to connect his rook somehow. And here Magnus played knight on f6. Maybe in this position Aronian should have played immediately bishop on d3 instead of this queen on d2 idea, because of course first of all you cannot take the pawn on d5, because we have some discovered check possibilities and then take the rook. So if you try to regroup a little bit from black's perspective, if you try knight on f6, then rook on e1 is a good move, because if you try c4, then of course bishop on e2 we can play, but now after rook takes on d5 we can play queen on c1, and now this c4 pawn is unprotected. If you try something like bishop on a6, again we could maybe challenge somehow the rook on the d file and attack this d6 weakness. So as I said, black will need many moves in order to regroup here the pieces a little bit, although the queen is a little bit out of game, but we can bring it maybe again into the game through the d file. And as I said, this would be maybe a better continuation. Instead of that, here Aronian played the move queen on d2. And here knight on f6 played by Carlsen, attacking this d5 pawn, and now rook on c1. If you take immediately knight takes on d5, then rook on c4 is very dangerous, you see, because you have to retreat with the queen. And now if you go with the queen on f6, we have bishop on d4. This is very interesting. Of course, if you take, you see, then you have bishop on c8 is hanging and comes with a very nice check here. So if you try queen on d8 to get out of this potential pin here by the bishop, so then f4 is very dangerous. You have to go somewhere with the rook or you lose the knight. If you try knight takes on e3, then of course we can take the rook, and then here after knight takes on c4, bishop on c4, and then after that we can take the pawn on d6. Of course, if you retreat somewhere with the knight, then you lose the rook. So if you try something like rook on e3, then of course again it's not good. Here we have queen on d5 and you lose the rook on a8. So many tactical possibilities prepared here. And in this position, if you try queen on f6, creating a pin, then again bishop on d4 is very dangerous. You see, again with the same idea, you cannot take the bishop, because again your bishop is hanging. So great tactical preparations here by both sides. You see many possibilities, but Magnus Carlsen and Levon Aronian, of course, in this top grandmaster, are seeing this tactical calculations in the middle game, and that's why here Magnus played first bishop on a6, preventing this rook on c4 idea, and now b3 played by Aronian. Here we have knight takes on d5, and now rook on c4. Very interesting idea. Bishop takes on c4 doesn't work. It's basically game over if you do that. After bishop on c4, here we see knight on c6, or anything you play, you simply lose the knight here on d5. But that's not the problem. The problem is that it comes with an attack against the rook on a8, and also with the check on the king on gx. So if you try knight on c6, again with the check, and you lose another piece. So you see, we would have then 3 minor pieces for the rook, and again this will be completely winning here for white. So that's why after rook on c4, here queen on e7 was played, and now rook on e4. Now Levon Aronian is simply searching for simplifications. If you try something like knight on e3, we have queen takes on e3. After trades of pieces here, simply knight takes on e4, and the problem is, again, you cannot protect this d6 weakness. You cannot advance it because you lose then the c5 pawn. In the continuation, this would be a better position for white, because here after knight on d6, if rook on d8, then knight on c4, and you're preventing some rook on d2 ideas. Basically, we can occupy then the e file. And the problem of blacks is that you have always this backward pawn, and this backward pawn would be then a long-term weakness and an object of white's attack. So that's why after rook on e4, you see Magnus Carlsen didn't go into the simplifications. He played simply queen on e6. We have bishop on f4 attacking the rook, so that's why knight takes on f4 had to be played. But now queen takes on f4, and now bishop on f1. And here Levon Aronian didn't take immediately. Here he took first rook takes on e5. If you take with the queen, then you see after queen takes on e5 and d takes on e5, we can take. And again, black is continuing now with 2 weaknesses, with the weak pawn on c5 and on e5. So that's why here first d takes e5 was played, but now not retreat with the queen. Of course, we have to create a counterattack here. Queen on e4 with the counterattack. You see, you have to make the move knight on c6, and then capture the bishop here on f1. So c4 was played by Carlsen. You see this c5 weakness, always this backward pawn. Magnus tries really to advance it after c4. Now Aronian plays a very nice tactical idea. He played knight takes on f5, and this shows really how great these players are, how great their tactical possibilities, their tactical calculations are in the middle game. Here after knight takes on f5, Magnus Carlsen plays really a tricky line which leads into a drawish game. He played simply c takes b3, and it seems now that Levon Aronian is getting a piece. He can simply take queen takes on c6. After queen takes on c6, we have knight on e7, the fork. King on f8 was played, but now knight takes on c6, you see, and now b takes on a2. And this is now the problem. We have now 3 pawns, so you have to capture the pawns now. Knight takes on b4, of course, a forced move, and now rook on b8. And then there are now several options. There are several mistakes that you can make. Knight takes on a2, of course, leads to rook on b2, king on e3, and then we can take, and we are continuing the game with the pass pawn. If you try knight on d5, it's even worse, because we have here rook on b1, and in the next move we can promote the queen. So again, this line is also losing. Knight on d3, again the same. And if we try something like knight on c2, we can also play rook on b2, and in the next move we can take out the knight, and also threatening here to promotion. So after that, as I said, rook on a1. So Levon Aronian left this rook, left the knight hanging. Rook takes on b4, we have rook takes on a2, and now rook on b7, but now simply king on e3, we have king on e8, and now rook on a6. And in this position both of the players agree to a draw, because in the next move here Magnus will lose the pawn here on e5, and this is really a theoretical draw. So of course these top grandmasters are not losing these types of positions. It's a draw, and I think it was a great draw, because we had really many tactical possibilities, but everything was well calculated by both of the players, and I think this is a fair draw. Okay, let's go back again to this last standings. As said, Wang Hao, congratulations, great tournament for him, and I don't know how much rating points he gained. I think he has surely at least gained some 20 rating points, so I think it's also an important thing for him. We'll see what will happen with Wang Hao in the candidates tournament. He deserved now his place in the elite squad, and the winner of this, as I said, of this candidates tournament will be facing then Magnus Carlsen in the World Championship match. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. Magnus Carlsen broke the record, and meanwhile you can watch my other Magnus Carlsen games, Levon Aronian games in my commented chess game series, and you can also watch my best chess games of all time if you want to see the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history. And you can also subscribe to my channel if you like this content. Thanks you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.